Hi, welcome to another episode of Dave's Imaginations. Today we're going to recap our game from Thursday, January 19th, as our adventurers have left the way in on the tradeway path, and they're heading south toward the end of the Misty Forest before they can cut through the High Moor swamp in search of Orgoth and the flail snails and a hydra that might be protecting them. What happens? Do they survive this encounter? Let's find out right after this. Stay with me. Our adventurers had made camp, have traveled to the way in along the tradeway just south of Daggerford. And they've arranged transportation, a guide. They've paid a guide 1,000 gold pieces to escort them, to show them a path through the High Moor to Orgoth, where they hope to find these flail snails. Why did they need the flail snails? Remember, 2 weeks ago, flail snails, they were told that they could get the shell of a flail snail, and if they grind it down, they could make this magical bomb of sorts that might be able to destroy the dragon masks. So they've done just this. They found this guy. They found Celia, a 53-year-old female stout halfling bounty hunter wannabe, and she agrees to escort them through this swamp. And she gets the horses, and they start down this path, the tradeway that heads south from Waterdeep to Baldur's Gate. Now, this path, even though in our world where the world is in war with the forces of Grumpsh and the Green Horde and the Dark Queen and the Dragon Cultists, although all this war is, this tradeway is well patrolled and somewhat safe, and so they take their horses and they're heading down. It takes 2 days to get from the tradeway in to the end of the Misty Forest, where they will begin to cut across the High Moor. The first day they travel down, and I tempt them with staying with a caravan that has made camp. Caravan protected by mercenaries, and they decide not to take. The mercenaries won 1 gold piece per head to join the camp, and they would protect them. But our team doesn't need any protection, really. Come on. And so they make their own camp. They tie up the horses, and between the use of this lamp that Ruckus has with the marvelous mansion inside and the tiny hut that they can cast, between the two of those, they're pretty well protected. But in addition to that, even though they have all that, they still posted a guard, and we still rolled for random events. There wasn't going to be, there was no random event. And so, but what was really a reason why we had those long rests was it was to give Ruckus an opportunity to have a little character revelation, a little character exhibit, if you would, as he revealed to them, Ruckus doesn't seem the normal. He seems a little off-put, not himself, not his jovial, happy self, as he's a little curt, and he's yes, you're here, but he just go to bed, leave me alone, and he goes away, right? And he does that first night. The second night, on this third day, they start to make their way into the Moor Swamp, and as they go through this Moor Swamp, Celia says, "Hey, along this path, there's a troll, and this troll isn't a normal evil troll. This troll is more of a caretaker of the swamp, and if we want to have some protection from the swamp, we should make camp at this troll's hut." So they come to the hut, and sure enough, there's this troll there, and Celia talks with them for a while, and the troll agrees to let them stay. As they get there, though, they see this troll, and they hear this troll making a sound, a scream, "Ah!" And they get there, and they see that he's literally cutting off a finger and throwing in a boiling cauldron, as he seems to make brewing some sort of potion. And as he cut off the finger, the team can see that finger literally growing right back with the troll's regenerative properties. With this, Strider becomes somewhat intrigued as he considers him so much of a herbalist, and he looks around. He can see a garden full of rare herbs, plants growing, plants he knows would be useful in his potions. And so they make camp, and there's some discussion, and they talk about their mission, and they don't say exactly what their intentions are, but they do say they're looking for the flail snails, and they would like to gather some intelligence about the Hydra they believe is protected. Troll doesn't speak common, but he does speak through Celia and through Barkworm, who speaks Giant, and he relays them, no Hydra, and that there's no Hydra, but there is a mother of all flail snails that is called the Flailer Snail. The Flailer Snailer, which was a homebrew creature that I pulled off of D&D and Beyond. It was pretty cool. We were looking for, I'm looking forward to bringing that to the characters. But through the evening, as they're having this evening with the troll that is named Gazunti, and Glenn rightfully said Gazuntite, which is actually the root. Gazunti is the root word for Gazuntite, so good call there, a good pickup on that. And this character, this concept of a troll that's a healer, is an NPC that I've actually thought of a long years. I've had this in my pocket. I've been wanting to run some encounter with Gazunti, typically evil troll who's not. He's actually somewhat lawful good, if you would, as he is more of a druid in character, as he takes care of a Dr. Doolittle type that takes care of the creatures of the swamp, the good and the bad. He also, speaking of good and bad, he talks about the warring factions that also are around Orgoth. He talks about the lizard folk and the grung that seem to be eternally at odds with each other, and as well as in that area of Orgoth that the flail snails would be, and this Flailer Snailer, the mother of all flail snails. And through the course of the evening, as they talk, they do periodically, Gazunti would take a pail full of the brew that he's been brewing, a potion he's been brewing, and he takes it around back of his house and comes back a few minutes later. And one of the times he comes, he puts his hand on a wood block, and he chops off his hand and throws it in the pot and sticks it on her arm and waits for it to grow back, as just to demonstrate the healing abilities of these trolls. And so throughout the night they do this, and even to the extent that Strider was able to strike a deal with this troll and traded him a lantern for one of the plants that he collects for his potions. So it was a good encounter. And at the end of the night, they all retire for the evening. Again, they have their tiny hut with the mansion that's inside the lamp, and they start to take watches. And through the watch, nothing happens. First watch, and then Strider has his watch. And he rolls a natural 1. And now, in my mind, something would happen on a natural 20. So I pose it to the group. Hey, he rolled a natural 1. And oh yeah, something ought to happen. And I said, well, let's leave it to fate. No, I didn't at that point. I didn't say that. So I made something up. I said, as you're looking around, because I had prefaced early in the night that in the swamp, one of the creatures amongst the many denizens of the swamps are these will-o-wisps. And in my mind, there's a creature behind the hut that, before Strider's, it was Christiana's took first watch. And Christiana's is... curiosity got the best of her as she snuck around, and she saw that behind this house, this old abandoned house that Gazunti has made his own. Behind this house is the largest crocodile you've ever seen, and on this crocodile is a large wound along its side, and so that is obviously what Gazunti is caring for, and he's Christiana backs away, and she didn't want anything to do with that thing. She just was very curious what it was. And she relays that to Strider as he begins his shift. Now, again, he rolled a natural 1 in his random encounter, and he goes back there, and he's kind of surveying the swamp. Now, you think of a swamp, this is kind of an island within the swamp that has this house on it. And as he's looking out into the night sky, he sees off in the distance a pulsing light. And he watches some 100 yards away. He sees a light pulse, and he looks away. Was it really there? And he looks, and then again it is. But then there's another one, a little bit further, as it's way in the back. And he's watching this, and then they get closer. And then I roll to see how many of these pulsing lights, will-o-wisps, right? Will-o-wisps. The pulsing lights. And I think I rolled like a 12 or 14, something like that. There's a lot of these things. And as they start to get close, and they start flickering. And you think of lightning bugs here in the Midwest, right? In July we have lightning bugs as they pulse on, and then you don't know where they are for a second. And then they pulse again. But was it the same one or was it a different one? Yeah, you don't know. But that's what these will-o-wisps are. They pulse on, pulse off. But they seem to be getting closer. And so as they got closer and closer, Strider decides, I'm better go wake up one of the guys. So he goes and gets Olak and says, hey, we need to help me watch these things. And they keep getting closer and closer. And finally, they get to the point they're real close, and Strider's going to go try, and he goes out there and tries to get between these will-o-wisps and this crocodile that's trying to heal. And he tries to go out there and get to me, and he casts this gust wind and blows the will-o-wisps away a little bit, which kind of scatter. And this is when we tempted fate. Because I wanted to know what would the will-o-wisps do? Would they attack or would they give up? And so we tempted fate, and we rolled. And I asked, would they attack? And I was unsure. It was 50-50. And at this point, chaos level was really low. Things were under control. And so I asked, are they going to attack? And it said yes, with a random event. And then the random event, using the Mythic GM emulator, the random event was an unexpected random event. And it says to close a thread, like a storyline, close a thread. And then it gives you a couple words of inspiration. One was dominate. The other one was stalemate. So dominate and stalemate, they almost seem like they're at odds with each other. So, but that was the prompt I was given for this random encounter. Will-o-wisp popping on and off, and as they're getting closer, and so they're coming, and so this battle is beginning, and Olak runs and gets the rest of the gang, and with the loud noises that are going, it wakes up Gazunti, who is not happy with the gang as they start this battle around this crocodile that he is trying to heal, and he sees these will-o-wisps, and this battle is commencing, and they finally get the will-o-wisp to retreat, and that is when Strider stumbles upon a flail snail. The flail snail, a full adult-sized flail snail. That was the random encounter. That was the random thing that happened. That was the unexpected event. This is what they're looking. They feel like they have another couple days even to cross the High Moor to get to the Orgoth. But right here is the object that they're looking for. But to do this, to this object that they're looking for, they need to take its shell. Its anti-magic shell, and so they start casting spells at this snail. And albeit these spells were not particularly aggressive, damaging. They were more capturing. Strider does his bones of the earth and captures it, and in retaliation, with that, this flail snail, which is a large creature, uses its tentacles and bangs against one, and I think he even got a critical hit. Now, I think it's automatic critical hit on a stationary item like that. So doing full damage, it took down one of those pillars of it, which was just enough for it to start crawling out of. And then but that didn't target the flail snail directly. That was just around it. Other spells that they tried to do targeted it directly, and they learned very quick that that spell was, if that would affect the snail would be able to redirect that back at them. Olak tried to cast web, and that got reflected right back on top of Olak as they started. And Gazunti is getting, at first, very frustrated, and stop attacking the flail. So that's a creature of the swamp, and I will not tolerate this, right? And being translated all along the way. But then he starts laughing as he sees that they're casting spells and they're getting reflected back in comical ways. And he warns, through Barkworm, says, they better not hurt my snail. And by then, Ruckus had come out and had charged and had lost his. He in this battle he had turned into a were-shark, and he got up there, and on his turn, heeding no warnings, he dove in and attacked the flail snail. And with his mightiness of the were-shark, with his strength, he goes in and he grabs it. He rolled well, right? I don't know, maybe even a natural 20. He grabs it and he literally. Now he rolled a natural 20 and another. He had two attacks, and one of them was a natural. So he attacked. He literally yanked the snail out of the shell, ripped it in half, and started swallowing. Started swallowing the snail whole. And Gazunti's going out of his mind, and Gazunti tries to sink Ruckus into the ground with some spell that would swamp swallow, right? And fortunately, Barkworm canceled that. Gazunti wasn't happy about that. But then the rest of the team was like, "Oh my God, Ruckus has gone insane, right? Bloodlust insane. He wasn't supposed to do that." And so they tried to battle with Ruckus for a while. Back on Ruckus's turn, though, free of the swamp, he then attacks Strider and does. And we rolled fate, right? See if what we do, and it turned out it was like a natural. It was a very low roll, very bad roll. And so we decided that Ruckus would give the same attack that he gave the snail when he attacked Strider. Oh, that was damaging. A lot of damage there too. Finally though, they were able to subdue. There was a combination. It was a combination of a wall of force of Barkworm, in addition to Christiana going up, and with one of her infusions that is a anti-wereism, lycanthropyism potion. She bamps up there, I assume with a misty step, teleports up right next to him and says, "Okay, drop the wall of force." Barkworm wasn't quite sure about that, but drop the wall of force, and she jams her melee, her magical infusion into the open wound of Ruckus, who did take an open wound from the slashing damage, which was Strider turned into these magical claws and gave him a swipe across his chest, opening a wound in where Ruckus, right, with the Ruckus the were-shark, which he's not used to getting damage like that. Opens that wound, and which Christiana later used to put this infusion in to cause him to transform back into his human form. And that's where we enter our evening, where he has come down, and we don't know. We'll start with next week. With how does Gazunti respond to all this? What is the rest of it? Maybe you tell me what you think Gazunti will do as he sees this. Will he be able to reason with? Will the team be able to convince that Gazunti that, hey, this was in the world's best interest for us to get this, and convince them that they're going to make this magic bomb? I don't know. We'll have to find out. That'll be this Thursday. Yeah. Hey, before I forget, if you don't mind, take a moment, like and subscribe this video. I really appreciate it. I don't know what it does for me personally. Does it help with do other people actually watch us? We do get some views. So if you hit the like, and I also know that leaving comments with the algorithm, YouTube's magical algorithm, I don't know. And would anyone care to watch us? I don't know. I appreciate the people that do. I think it's our friends and families that watch it more than anyone, and I appreciate all of them. I like, hi everyone, hi Timmy, hi Carol. I appreciate you and watching it, and all my crew. I know most of my crew watches it, and maybe even more than once. So it's a nice preparation as we lead into the week. So if you don't mind, if you hit that like and subscribe and leave a comment. Tell me what you think is going to happen. Will we be able to convince you, or better yet, should we be able to convince him? So this is group storytelling. Help me figure this out, and we do. And from here, we'll have to see what happens, right? So I thank you all taking the time to watch this, listen to this video. I appreciate you, and we look forward to next week. Until then, take care.